stream filmmaker IQ live stream called The Inane Chat Show. John, I wish you would make more videos and less live streams. Hi, welcome. I do. I'm putting my phone away. I do these to hang out and chat and chill, cool off with you guys. Just chill. My neighbor must be having a party or something here at the studio, and they're playing music. I think they have their music, their like sound system, literally against the wall. So my whole wall is acting like an amplifier, a little speaker box. So if you hear that, I purposely turned everything down, and I'm going to talk really close to the mic so you don't hear so much background music. But hopefully that won't be too annoying. It's a little annoying for me, but I will suffer. I will suffer for my art for you guys. And Tony, thanks for saying we like hanging out with you. Definitely do. I get every time I make a video that's not a live stream, I get people like, you should make more of these videos and less of those stupid live streams. It's like people don't understand that you don't need to watch the live streams if you don't want to. I don't know. It's obviously which ones are the live streams because it's the one usually with me doing some stupid face. Okay, shall we get to it? Shall we talk about the movie that I promised in this title, or should I just blabber on for a few more minutes because just to piss off the people that really want me to talk about Moonfall but aren't willing to sit through more chat. You can chat for a little bit. Yay, finally got notified. Oh, good job. Good. Thank you, YouTube, for finally sending out the notifications. Abu, how you doing? Spitting straight facts. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about Moonfall. I wasn't going to see Moonfall the other day. If you guys don't know what it is, let's go ahead and just roll up a little trailer. I can probably pull it up here. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull this up here. I'm going to go into this. Let's jump back to me. All right. Stop that trailer. Stop it. Technology. Wonderful. No sound. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm glad I talked through it then. So, did I lose sound entirely? Because, sorry guys. Well, I'm not going to show you it again. That's how fly by the seat of the pants today is. I usually stream on Wednesdays, but because of a bunch of stuff I was doing, I'm trying to repair my house. I wasn't able to do it Wednesday, and Thursday was also kind of a cluster F of things going on. And I guess I had my sound turned on that would switch to a different sound source. So, dang it, I wish I was talking there. Sorry about that, guys. You got the gist of it without the sound. So yeah. God, what is with these stupid these things? These weird links that people put up there. Let me see if I can just ban that guy. All right, bye. And you're gone. All right. So yeah, sound came back. So yeah, obviously the sound was. I guess I didn't have the sound routed because I'm flying by the seat of the pants. That's how much I care about this Moonfall. Um, Let me just say. All right. In California, there are certain things that are legal here in California. They may not be in other countries, other states. I ingested one of those things that was perfectly legal to have in California before watching this movie. And this thing was a freaking blast. Now, maybe because I had ingested the thing that is perfectly legal here in California. But I actually, so I got the Edwards movie pass. No, it's not Mary Jane. It's an edible form of something. It's a gummy. It's a gummy. It's like a little gummy tablet. It's delicious. It's wonderful. But I went to the movie theater, and because the Edwards thing, they don't tell you this, but if you want to order your movie ahead of time, it's a 50-cent convenience charge. And I'm like, I'm not going to see this movie. There's actually nobody in the theater. I looked at the theater. There's actually no tickets sold. I thought I was going to be the only person watching this movie. So I went there, got my theater, but I got some popcorn. And then because I figured I wasn't paying for the movie, I might as well get some popcorn. Give the theater a little bit of cash. I got some popcorn, ate the popcorn, I was watching this movie, and then I started getting a little paranoid halfway through the movie. My lips started, I was like really thirsty. I was like really, really thirsty, right? And I didn't get a drink because I was cheap. And I started freaking out a little bit. I'm like, uh-oh, something's going to happen. And I was like, okay, calm down. I've been down this stream before. I've been down this stream before here. So just wait it out. And as soon as I waited out, I was fine in about 5 minutes. But imagine going through that experience of a wonderful, exactly, sugar. Exactly, that's what it was. It was sugar. That's what I had. And watching Moonfall, this stupid movie. Holy moly. Oh, God. Yeah, popcorn without a drink, even sober, that doesn't sound awful. So much salt. I agree. Yeah, you should have probably got a drink. I should have probably got a drink. But struggles of guys in single theaters. I'm not sure what that means. But let's talk about this movie. So, if you didn't gather from the trailer, it's Roland Emmerich's latest movie. And let me tell you this about Roland Emmerich. Like, Roland Emmerich has literally gotten the structure of a disaster movie down to a science. Like, there is no one as good as Roland Emmerich. You know, like I watched 2012, wasn't crazy about it. This movie, Moonfall, is 2012, but stupider. And man, it's so bad in a good way. It is horrible, but it's so much damn fun because, especially if you've had a little bit of sugar. That's legal in California, of course. Remember, this is legal in California, completely legal. The popcorn was delicious, by the way. I found out that I like the butter on the popcorn, but salt's the trick. Like, you know, you want to put a little bit of butter, but salt is what makes popcorn amazing. So, but popcorn was amazing, was really good, because I had a little bit of substance when I was eating this popcorn. This movie. Okay, so if you don't know from the trailer that was silent throughout the whole thing, I apologize about that. Basically, the moon, it starts off in space, like it's like Gravity. It's trying to rip off Gravity. They're in space and they're fixing a satellite, and all of a sudden this stuff comes flying out there, and it's like it destroys the shuttle, and then those two astronauts, after 11 years go by, and the two astronauts are like, one's working at NASA and the other one's like disgraced because he wouldn't admit that it was a solar flare when it was obviously not a solar flare. Like it was obvious, but NASA was trying to cover up this weird space alien thing. But it turns out the space alien is going. Sorry, I jumped ahead. The Game of Thrones dude from the library is secretly a megastructuralist. He's secretly a he believes that the moon isn't really a planet or isn't really an object. It's actually created by individuals or an intelligence, and it's actually a Dyson sphere. And the moon So what's happened is this alien thing is eating up the source of the power of the moon, and the moon is losing power, and therefore the moon is starting to fall out of orbit, because that's what happens when you have things that are because of because because when you run out of energy, the things, they fall to Earth, because that's the moon. Only reason moon orbits is because it's got a drive. Because his whole thing is like, why is it that the moon is exactly where it is? Because that's how the only way we can get solar eclipses is because the moon is exactly a certain distance from the Earth. If it's too far away, we wouldn't get it. And why is it? He's got all this great he's like, if you were like, he makes flat earthers seem like they've got a reasonable argument. But anyhow, so he's like, of course, he's the one scientist, he's like the rogue scientist, right? He probably goes on Joe Rogan because that's the only person that will platform him, right? Because that's all we can talk about these days, Joe Rogan. So he's like, no one will believe me. I'm telling you, the moon is a megastructure. And so he tries to find this disgraced astronaut, and he's telling him, like, I got calculations. The moon is falling out of course, man. And so they mount this. So first of all, in all these movies, it's like the military, let's nuke it. We need to nuke this thing. And then, Halle Berry's from the NASA is like, no, we don't want to nuke it. We have our own technology. We need to go up the moon and try to fix it, because we can go up and fix this mega structure that we'd have nothing about. We just need to go up there. And so they get on the last, there's no more shuttles left, so they pull a shuttle out of the museum. And then they get in the shuttle. So the moon, at that point, the moon is so close that it's causing these called gravity waves, right? So because the moon is is reducing the gravity of the Earth by 70%. So things like woo, and so they're taking off, and then this giant wave hits it, and they're like, we don't have enough fuel. But no, it's okay, because the moon is so close, it's pulling us toward it. Oh my God, it was a reason I wanted to see this movie. I won't go any further the plot, although the ending, it does try to steal from Gravity. It tries to steal from 2001 Space Odyssey. It steals from 2012, Roland Emmerich goes back to his old, thing. It steals a little bit from Battlestar Galactica if you look at the ending. I won't go more into detail because I'm not sure I remember it that well. Although the ending, I won't tell you about the ending, but it's a little 2001-ish, a little 2001 in there. Yeah, if you don't walk into this movie expecting anything other than just the schlockiest, over the top, B movie. This is 1950s, the day the Earth stood still level intelligence. I kind of would love to see Neil deGrasse Tyson I would want to watch a movie with him and just let him yell at the screen. Because it would just be entertaining. It's entertaining in the fact that it's so ridiculously dumb. The reason why I really saw it was because the reviewer I follow, Kermode on BBC Radio, called it radioactively dumb. And it's and he said in the review, he's I don't think anyone else in the theater was having as much fun as I was. It's a fun movie if you walk in with the right approach to how to frame this movie up. You can't pretend this is some serious work of art. You can't pretend anything other than this is schlockfest. It is so over the top. And I feel and there's even the casting is, they've got casting that fits perfect for the Chinese market. They drop in random Chinese characters. Just bizarro. I would recommend it, but definitely I would recommend it's a rental more for people, I think. But really, get your friends together, crack open some drinks, or do some sugar. If it's legal in your state, do something and start yelling at the screen, because this is hilarious. It's hilarious in the right context. It's not a good movie, but it's hilarious. A lot of the reviewers I was watching online, they don't. Maybe they weren't as out of their corporeal essence as I was when I saw a movie. I had a absolute blast, But if I didn't remember to talk about it in this stream, I would have completely forgotten about it because it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun because I was boo-hoo, gone. Is it so bad? Is it good? It's not that it's bad because it's actually done very well. I think it was a very done very well as a CGI. I'm throwing all this crap on the screen and we're just gonna like whatever, like whatever. No, don't even think about it. Don't think about it. Don't that's a bleh, that kind of thing. It's not a matter of it's being bad. That's a problem. That's the weird thing. Like, there are some movies that are bad that are trying to be dramas and they're just turn out to be horrible like comedies and because they end up being so poorly constructed. It's not one of those movies. It's one of those movies I think it understands what it is, which is just schlocky. Like super schlocky, bombastic, ridiculous, ludicrous movie. Some of the dialogue I don't remember. Okay, what the hell? Let's pull some up. I'm gonna go into IMDb. We're gonna do some reading. I'm gonna do some IMDb Moonfall quotes. Let's do some quotes from IMDb. See if I can pull up some of the dialogue here. We're doing this live. I haven't tested this out. I mean, this could be a complete and utter disaster if I do this here. I'm trying to see if I can find the quote line. FAQ details. Where are the quotes? I hate the new IMDb. I can't even find the line quotes from this thing. This sucks. I wanted to give you some quotes from it. Let's see. Am I gonna? When they stop putting quotes on, or maybe it's too new of a film to have quotes on it yet. But one of them was like, "I'm not a doctor. I'm a megastructuralist." Oh, God. Okay, well, that was quotes. Here it is. Oh, I love the quotes. Fuzz Aldrin, which is a cat. Meow. This is actually in the IMDb page. All right, let's read a couple of these. One character A. Are we dead? No, we're just inside the moon. The response. That might be the greatest sentence anyone has ever said. All right, let's see. Let's see. What's a good one here? That's really the only good quote. Other ones you kind of have to know what's going on. So yeah, I love that. Are we dead? No, we're just inside the moon. That might be the greatest sentence anyone's ever uttered. Anyhow, so I would definitely recommend Moonfall if you want to just like go a little crazy. And peyote, yeah, that would work too. Is it a movie that tries to be bad on purpose? No, I don't think it. I think it comes down to let me just take a sip of my drink here. Like, the problem also is with the idea that movies are good or bad, the binary of good or bad, right? I mean, what is good? What is bad? If a comedy makes you laugh, that's good, right? But if a drama makes you laugh, is that good? So, because you had a good reaction to it. So I don't think it's not one of those movies that tries to be bad. It's a movie that literally knows what it is. I think it knows what it is, and it just slams on the gas to get you as fast as you can there. It doesn't pretend to be a good movie. It doesn't pretend to be like an Oscar-winning movie. It doesn't pretend like The Rock pretends that the Fast and Furious is going to win an Oscar. Was that The Rock that said that, or was it? No, it was the other dude, the other bald-headed dude. Family. What's his face? But it doesn't pretend to be anything other than it is, and what it is actually very effective. It's not smart. it's like I don't know how many guys are boys. Moonfall, Skyfall. Well, no, Skyfall's a little smarter than Moonfall. But I remember as a kid, this was what shaped me as a filmmaker or whatever character that I am today. As a kid, I was a shy kid. I would sit at home and play with my toys a lot. I'd have like action figures, and I'd make up I would always on the TV would be a VHS playing a movie of some sort. It was either like Indiana Jones or it was like a Simpsons episode. So I have a lot of that committed memory. But I would make up these stories with my little figurines, you know, like it'd be like action movies. I would base all my stuff was around action movies like Indiana Jones. Like Steven Spielberg has this thing where he would do a chase scene. I like if you think about it, like Steven Spielberg kind of has mastered this technique of the chase scene that happens on cars that are driving in a direction, right? It's like remember in Raiders of the Lost Ark had it. The last movie of not the last one not the Temple of Doom the Last Crusade had it where they're literally and even the Crystal Skull had it where the cars are going along the road and there's action and people like climbing over the cars and punching each other. You know, it happens a little bit in Fury Road too. But I remember in the 90s, I'm babbling here, but in the 90s, I used to always go to the Long's Drugs and we'd rent 99 cents. You'd rent a Nintendo game for a couple days and you would get that like on Friday night. You go rent a video game and be like Raiders of the Lost Ark and it'd be a side-scrolling action. But all these movies had this side scroll kind of action where the car chase wasn't a car chase, it was just basically a moving platform scene. And Spielberg used to do that a lot, I guess. Well, I don't think nowadays that kind of filmmaking is kind of out. I mean, Fury Road's a little bit, but at least the Fury Road they turn around a little bit. It's not always just straight line going. Anyhow, but yeah, that's I don't forget what we got on the topic. Oh, I think because I was talking about how the childhood like stories I would tell with my action figures, and this movie feels like something that a 12-year-old imagination would come up with. And there's like a little thing, you know, there's some sciencey things like the Roche limit. If you've never heard of the Roche limit, that's actually a thing where basically anything below the orbit of the Roche limit, you can't have a moon because it will disintegrate into a bunch of, you know, stuff and become a ring. Anyhow, so is it a good movie? No, it's not. It's not a movie trying to be bad. It's a movie that knows exactly what it is and plays exactly to that. So that's what I thought about the movie. Patrick Wilson. Yeah, Patrick Wilson is becoming the big star with the Conjuring universe and Aquaman 2. And he's got a very everyman look to him, you know. Patrick, he's not distinguished enough. He's not like good looking enough like a George Clooney or a Brad Pitt. He's not that, but he's not as like, he's kind of like in between a Brendan Fraser, back when Brendan Fraser was still popular. Like Brendan Fraser was kind of like the happy-go-lucky, youth-looking guy. Patrick Wilson's got a little bit more of a darkness to him. He's good. He's a great, in other words, he's a great B-movie actor. Like, he's perfect for that movie. Halle Berry is basically like, well, I'm just going to cash this check. And the Game of Thrones guy is like, oh, at least somebody called me. I'm sorry. I hate to be mean to the Game of Thrones guy, who I can't even remember his name. That's how good. Anyhow. Oh, even in Tintin has a number of those little sequences where those aren't limited by TV live action. Yeah. If you recall, like back in the day when we had our Nintendo games and the side-scrolling games, like it was literally that. It's a side scroller. That's all it is. You know, you'd fight, you jump on the car, and you punch the bad guy, and the bad guy goes thrown off, and you jump on the next car. You know, it feels like it was made for the '90s aesthetic as far as video games. You know, it was a very 90s way of thinking about action. Anyhow. Andy says, isn't this produced by Lionsgate? It is produced by Lionsgate. Independently funded movie by multiple people with a budget of $150 million. Highest budgeted independent movie ever. I've heard that people say that. Yeah, I think that's true. So, yeah, highest. So I went and saw a little indie movie by the name of Moonfall. All right, I think I got really high on describing this movie. I used to get Patrick Wilson mixed up with Thomas Jane, who also does some B movies and good movies. Yeah, I mean The Conjuring. I watched a couple of them. They are so B movie, but I mean. I like the one I saw. The Conjuring 2 was pretty intense. I think the other ones, I don't know. I mean, The Conjuring 1. I never saw Conjuring 1. Derek says, sounds like something I'd like to hear Rambo Ralph for life Matt rant on. I'm sure Moonfall is a movie made, I think, for people to ramble on. In fact, so this afternoon, I think I've conned my friends to doing this. I talked about the movie Candy. I'm going to do this as a movie review. And a movie review, like a beat by beat. I want to kind of break down the story for you guys. Candy is another movie. And I've talked about this on many streams now. So I apologize if you're tired of me talking about it. You're going to get an actual video. I went through the history of it, and then I bought the Blu-ray, and I watched some of the extras on the Blu-ray, and it's a really fascinating movie. But it is a movie that I feel that not many people nowadays are familiar with. But I think it's much more enjoyable than something like The Room. The Room is I'll be honest. The Room is like kiddie stuff. The Room is like, baby's first beer. If you want, whereas something like Candy is like vodka. But, The Room that's cute. That's cute. But it's not these other movies. And if you watch any of the Red Letter Media stuff, like those guys know how to deal with it. They had to watch really, really good bad movies, or bad good movies. No, I don't know. I don't want to fall in that weird polarity, whatever. It's not just good or bad. Sometimes it's just entertaining, and sometimes think about movies as more of an experience. And sometimes just to experience something like a Moonfall or a Candy it's like you can't compare it to something like Casablanca. Like Casablanca is a totally different vehicle, but it's a totally different experience. It just blows your mind. Anyway. Derek says, movies are not financed directly from studios. They get loans from Wall Street for a slate of movies. Not quite true. Movies actually, so one of the movie, the topic I want to do the next studios on, and if you guys haven't seen it yet, I'm sure you guys have. I released the studios on Fox last Sunday, I believe. Sunday. But people were asking me what my next movie my next studios would be United Artists. And United Artists is really kind of, to me, at least what I've read so far, I haven't done that much research, but I've done a lot of it already, is that United Artists marks kind of the beginning of the new era of Hollywood, the new era of corporate Hollywood. So we're all familiar with the way the golden era of Hollywood works. You have the movie theaters, and they own the movie studios, and they own the movie theaters. It's a vertical monopoly. That's how you made money. But that ended in 1948. United Artists came along, and then there's two financiers that approached one of the last remaining owners of United Artists, the original owners, which is her name, the Goldilocks girl, Mary Pickford. They approached Mary Pickford with an idea. Hey, here's what we want to do. We're going to give us control of the company for 10 years, and we're going to we're going to double the value of the company. And after then 10 years, we'll give it back. But here's our plan. And the plan was the studios, since we don't own theaters, what do we have some movie set lots, but with CinemaScope making on location shooting more important, the studio lots aren't being used for movies anymore. Let's turn a studio not from a movie studio, not from a production standpoint. Let's approach a movie studio as a financing vehicle. So really, United Artists kind of started this whole kind of corporate modern Hollywood finance, or modern Hollywood, which is that these studios are not necessarily like 20th Century Fox, although 20th Century Fox is not a good example, like Disney or Warner Brothers or Columbia Pictures, Sony. They don't necessarily make the movie at Sony, although they could. Sony is the one that provides the funding for the movie. And the movie's made wherever it's made. It's made in Georgia, it's made in, Vancouver, it's made across the world. It doesn't matter. It's the studio is a financial vehicle from producing these major movies. And then they also have the distribution vehicle. So that's really the shift that happened, and that's why United Artists is so important, is because I think that was one of the first clues of where this was going to go. After the golden era of Hollywood, the golden age of, the studio system was dead. The new system is financing and distribution. And that's why whenever I hear people talk about we're going to turn so and so into the new Hollywood, we're going to turn Timbuktu, Iowa into the new Hollywood, you always have to like get in your head like, yeah, that's not what Hollywood is. Hollywood isn't where you make the films. Hollywood is where you finance them, and Hollywood is where you sell them. That's what in today's standard, that's what Hollywood's all about. Financing and selling. You can make the movie anywhere you want, but if you want to finance it, you want to sell it, that's what Hollywood is involved. So anyhow, that is. Hey Rick, how you doing? Super chat. Thank you, man. You're always very regular with those super chats. So I appreciate it very much. Enjoyed the Fox Studios video a lot. Only way to make it better would have been to film it in black and white. See, I always am very careful with the black and white because I always am especially with those noir things. Is I don't going all the way to black and white is a choice. Sometimes I feel is too much. So I usually try to desaturate just a little bit, but I still like the color because I put a lot of effort into the color of the set. So I want to maintain a little bit of color, but yeah, I get you. By the way, I did watch Nightmare Alley in color because last week I talked about watching it in black and white, the movie theater. Now here's my take on the color version versus the black and white of Nightmare Alley. By the way, Nightmare Alley. If you're bitching about Marvel movies and you don't watch Nightmare Alley, then screw you, because you're the problem. If you're complaining about Marvel movies and you're not watching something like Nightmare Alley, then you're the problem. It's not the Hollywood studios. You need to be watching these well-made movies, and it's obviously up for Oscars and all that stuff. And there's a bunch. Oscars came out, and I've looked through the list, but. I'll probably end up. I want to watch Macbeth. I want to watch the other one that Gadsden or something to do with the Poirot guy. Anyhow, yeah, Nightmare Alley. Boa says he loved Nightmare Alley. Well, so here's my thought on Nightmare Alley: color versus black and white. The first part of the movie, to me, the color version. Hands down, much better. However, there are some scenes where the black and white is far superior than the color version. I'm particularly talking about the ending. The ending in black and white, miles better in black and white, in my opinion. Miles better in black and white than color. Color, it doesn't feel special, but in black and white, to me, the last shot of the film, those that have seen the film, the last shot in black and white to me is etched in my brain. Now, watching in color did not have the same impact because the black and white also invoked in me the movie, one of my favorite movies by Preston Sturges, which is it's not Wherefore Art. What is it? Dang it! Sullivan's Travels. That's where the name. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou comes from, is that movie, Sullivan's Travels. The very ending in black and white of Nightmare Alley reminds me of Sullivan's Travels. And it's really like that. It's like that works so much better in black and white. Some of the action stuff at the end with the billionaire who's trying to revive his wife works better in black and white. It just works better to me in black and white. Like the whole last 30 minutes of the movie I think works better in black and white. I feel like the whole psychiatrist thing works a little bit better in black and white, but I think the carnival stuff works better in color. So, it's hard to tell you which one to watch. I think in general, I think the black and whites. I don't want to be I'm not a hipster. I'm not one of those guys. I really hate it when photographers show you both the color and black and white version of a photo because it's like, no, pick one. But if I had to pick, I would say the black and white is probably just slightly bit better in my opinion. Maybe because I watched that the first time, though. Maybe because that's the first time I saw it. I saw it in black and white. But there are, I think some of the carnival stuff just doesn't work as well in black and white. It just does. It just feels flatter. Whereas in color, it looks great in color. That's my problem, I guess. That's my issue with it. I guess it's just certain parts of it don't work as well in black and white as they do in color. Anyhow, metaphorical symbolism, maybe. Love my video about Paramount Studios. What? What is the oldest Hollywood studio? Which is the oldest Hollywood? Paramount, I believe, is one of the oldest ones. If you want to go, the oldest one is Edison. Edison would have been the first. Derek Brown. It's almost David Brown adopted Richard after he and his dad had a fallen out. Oh, David Brown adopted Richard Zanuck. So you know what's interesting? Because I'm talking about Candy earlier. Candy, I will go in this more in my video about Candy. But Candy started off as part of what's called the Traveler's Companion of books. I might get in trouble for this video. I don't think I will, because there's a lot of sex involved with what I'm going to talk about in this, which may actually get more views because my audience is actually predominantly male. So, but I might get yelled at by some of the feminists that are upset, the anti-sex feminists, which I seem to get in trouble with a lot. But anyhow, it was a book that was it was a part of the naughty books that were printed in France. And it became popular in the United States, and actually was an FBI investigation into whether this book was actually prurient. Because back in 1960, like, you couldn't publish porn. You couldn't publish porn books that would consider obscenity. And we obviously, at that point in time, movies like Carnal Knowledge. If you watch that nowadays, it would be it'd be R, but it would be like a light R rating. Like, there's hardly anything in it really that we would consider obscene. But there were people, I remember doing back when Filmmaker IQ was a blog, we did daily quizzes, and I did this thing about Georgia lawmakers who literally arrested people for showing a Hollywood studio film, Carnal Knowledge, in the theater. They busted the joint, right? So anyhow, with Candy, there was an FBI agent sting, and they reviewed the book for pornographic, and they concluded that it wasn't pornographic; it was a parody because it was so absurd that no one would take it seriously. But anyhow, it was believe it or not, it was Daryl Zanuck, who again was living in Paris at the time, who probably read the book. He recommended the book to a French actor who wanted to direct something. And that's how Candy was made. But it's interesting because I just finished the Fox video, and to see that Daryl Zanuck pops up again in the next video I was researching, I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's what I love about doing these studio videos. What makes them so incredibly hard for me, because I try to do a comprehensive and cover a vast swath of history. I obviously miss a lot. But the cool thing is when you do that, is you can provide context for everything for the rest of your life. Now you know who Richard Zanuck is. Now you know who Daryl Zanuck is. And you hear these names all the time being pouted about. And people just expect you to know who Richard Zanuck is. Or who Alan Ladd Jr. is. I forget. I don't know why. I think I cut out the line where I said his name was Laddie. Laddie on the lot. But anyhow, you hear about this. You hear Alan Ladd Jr. always mentioned, but you don't have any context of where he fits in history. Because, schools don't teach Hollywood history. They barely teach history at all. When we get a little bit of history, we don't get the entertainment stuff. We don't get the history of entertainment. So, anyhow. Have I seen Drive My Car? No, I have not. Let me know where it's at. I need to rewatch The Lighthouse. It's a film haunting me in certain recent times. It can influence my work greatly, getting me into the mood for black and white oldies. I saw The Lighthouse, but this was before I discovered I had sleep apnea. And I would get tired and fall asleep in a theater. So I would love to watch it again at home. Derek says, I've seen Candy, by the way, never seen Lolita. The Kubrick Lolita is way more tame than Candy. Candy is insane. But Lolita is almost typical Hollywood filmmaking. Yeah, take that back. It's more mainstream. Let's put it that way, and it's also Kubrick, right? Um, but it is not. It's not my favorite Kubrick film. It's got a lot of good performances, but it's not my favorite Kubrick film at all by any stretch of the imagination. Uh, oh, you kept waiting for me to take a swig of that drink in the last video. The thing I've discovered as I take a swig of this drink is that you can't do a video actually drinking anything. So it's really a prop. Um, if you drink, I mean, because that's actually Wild Turkey 101 in there. If you drink, you will get worse and worse and worse. And that is like a 20 some page script I had to read off a teleprompter. And if you start drinking, you are never going to finish that script. And he said, why did Thomas Edison making movies thought, when did U.S. government legalize movie funding business and taking loans from banks? What? Check out, if you want some more context on this, well, first of all, you can get a loan from a business. You can get a loan for anything. You know, as long they don't really care what you do with a loan as long as you pay it back and you pay them interest. That's what they don't care if you take your loan out and you go make a movie with it, or you go build a bridge with it, or you go build a business with it. It doesn't matter. It's all legal. All right. I'm not sure when you legalize movie funding businesses. Yeah, I don't think. But what I would recommend is you should watch my video on Fox, not 20th Century Fox, but Fox. That's what kind of annoys me, I guess, with the way that video got treated. Because I think a lot of people saw the Paramount video, they loved the Paramount video, but they never saw the Fox video. Because the Fox video was a setup for 20th Century Fox. But no one really watched it. It did really, really badly. Like embarrassingly bad. How bad. And I put a lot of effort into that one. But watch the Fox video. You get like a interesting appreciation of that. Oh, here we go. So, kind of strange question, but do you have an appreciation for great commercials? Absolutely, I do. I love them because you know why? I used to make commercials. When I first started, I worked as a PA. Well, I was an intern at a cable company, and we would make the lowest of low advertising. We would make the local advertising commercials, and we'd always love it when we had a client that wanted a creative one, because most of the commercials were basically, and I started in a few of them myself. They're not going to be, you can't find them on the internet, but I started in one like for Norco Ford. And I played a cowboy. I was like, "Come on down, Norco Ford. Come on down, Norco Ford. We got this 29, it was like 2008 Honda Civic. It's a used car lot, so just because it's Norco Ford doesn't mean they didn't sell Toyotas and Hondas and whatever crap. So we used to make those, but there was one. We had one client that was an Italian, like Italian supermarket kind of thing, Italian little hole in the wall Italian. They sell cans of a tomato paste from Italy, olive oil and all the good stuff, right? And he would come up with the craziest ideas for commercials. And I never got to shoot one, but I got to hear stories about it. And one of them was they wanted to do like a rip off of a Seinfeld episode with somebody playing Cosmo Kramer, and he's carrying this big plate of spaghetti, and he's like, "Oh, whoa!" and he like falls down, and the spaghetti goes everywhere. And apparently that story got like a lot of people calling and complaining, like, "How did you dare let all that spaghetti go to waste?" Anyhow, so I love commercials, and I used to love Super Bowl commercials. I used to do like Super Bowl commercial reviews and talk about like Super Bowl commercials. Problem with that is they are a copyright nightmare. Like, I can get them out, and then you have to try to get them out really fast because the Super Bowl happens like this weekend. I don't know who's playing. I guess Cleveland's playing. I don't know who, but they happen really quickly, and then there's a buzz about it. So you got to make your video really quickly, and they go out there, and then you get like 2 or 3 days of playtime before people start yanking them because of copyright issues. So I just kind of gave up on doing that. But I love commercials. So that's a long answer to that question. Arseny says, Breathless is the most beautiful black and white movie. I will take your word for it. But Magic Christian is always my favorite Ringo film. One of Sellers' best performances. Cool. I've never seen Magic Christian. Check it out. Make a video in RKO Radio Picture Studios. Why did it close? I don't think, if I remember with RKO, is it basically got torn apart. I think it got like sold off and pieces of it going everywhere. But everyone like wants me to do all these videos about Hollywood studios. They always want me to pick their favorite studio. They take a lot of work, folks. They take a lot of work. And I mean, I don't want to be like downer or anything like that. But right now the video is making like about 6,000 views. And I get on stream here and I yak for an hour and a half and I get about a third of that. I mean, obviously the studios, in the long run, they are a better investment of time, and they're great for me because I learn about the history of studios. It makes me way more competent talking about them. But they are so much effort to put them. Like for one thing, when I do studio logos, I put logos on the screen. Like if I tell you, okay, well, it's sold to Alcoa. Okay, well, what year is that? 1968. All right, well, what's their logo look like in 1968? I don't want to go with an Alcoa logo that looks like 2020. I want a 1968 version of an Alcoa logo. So I got to go find that Alcoa logo and use that. And I'm trying to find pictures to illustrate the fact. And like the guy that started Chris Craft, Herb Seeger, like there's no photos of this guy online. There's nothing. And I've tried Google search, I've tried DuckDuckGo, I've tried Bing, I've tried everything. A lot of these like historical figures, they do not have any pictures of them whatsoever, and some of them are billionaires. What's another billionaire that's in there? Like Harley Clark is another character from like the early 1900s, humongous like millionaire in Indiana, like has one of the most famous homes, the Harley Clark Homes Castle or whatever they call it. It's a landmark place, right? Like a huge magnet, a utilities magnet. Not a single picture of him anywhere on the web, except for on the page, and it's like a postage stamp. It's so small. So like the research I have to do, I mean, and that's not the writing part. That's the actual editing together and adding stuff and making it look entertaining and fun to watch. Like that is so grueling. How long it take? Like it'll take me, a day, 6 hours or so, just to put together like 3 minutes of the actual finished documentary part, and then the whole thing is like 40 minutes. So it literally took me like weeks to put this together, and with my own family and personal life going on because right now my days are kind of split, half at home and half taking care of my mom and half here. It's really difficult. So anyhow, I'm complaining. I'm saying, help me out. Spread the word on these videos because YouTube's not helping me out at all. And maybe I could probably use a better title. I don't know. I hate trying to do too much. Yeah. See, that's that. Andy says the YouTube algorithm isn't promoting long videos. Your Fox video is pretty long. Next time you divide it into 2 parts, it works. I thought about that. And a friend was talking about it, but I couldn't find it. It didn't have a good place to split it into 2. And one of those things where like I had to finish it. I wanted to finish it just to finish it. I didn't. If I split it in 2, like I could have cut it right before like the end of Cleopatra's story, but it doesn't have like the hook to kind of get you back into it, and it wasn't written for a 2-parter, so that's why I didn't end up bringing it 2. But I think in the future probably I will. I may if I tackle something that big, it will probably be more than 1 part. I think that's probably a good idea. I'm a hardworking dude. I'm getting older. I think that's the only reason I'm hardworking. There we go. Arseny says, what do you think about the shot of the car when the car drives toward the camera and the camera pans and shows how the car drives to the horizon? Is this the most boring shot ever? I don't know which shot you're talking about. Is they talking about the in Moonfall? I mean, it's sort of stolen from like Children of Men and stuff like that. The floating mouse, is that I have a mouse cursor back there? Yep, it is. I did a video when I recorded about sound, and it was one of the sound videos about, I think it was bitrate one, and not the bitrate, the sampling rate, and I had a cursor that was literally right there the entire time, and I was like, dang it, and I looked at it, and I was able to like surgically remove it, basically putting just putting a little cover over it because nothing ever went in that part of the screen, so I could just cover it up. But it like pissed me off, and I think I recorded another video where I did have the mouse like somewhere lower, and like I was like, oh crap, I recorded that and I have to re-record the entire thing. Why did MGM sold to Amazon? Where has Paramount Universal survived? MGM is an interesting company to talk about. It was going to be on my list. It was going to be the one after Paramount. Excuse me. But MGM, after the 50s and 60s, it sort of becomes the pardon the French, the sluttiest of all the studios, in that it was bought and sold like crazy. Like Kirk Kerkorian. If you guys live near a Kerkorian theater, it's named after Kirk Kerkorian. I believe he's Greek. I think he's Greek, but he's one of those billionaire asshole guys, right? And he bought and sold MGM like 3 times, and made money on every single sale. Like, it's insane. He literally bought and sold it. Wasn't MGM a Trans-American, or is that Paramount? Trans-America? But like MGM got bought and sold, bought and sold, bought and sold. Pieces got taken off, thrown out other place. United Artists, I think MGM bought United Artists. MGM is like the most conglomeratized, and then, and I notice every time I go to Las Vegas and I stay at the MGM. Because the MGM is famous. The MGM hotel. Last when I was in Vegas, I stayed at Park MGM. So MGM is part of a big conglomerate thing. It ceased being a studio, long time ago, and became like pieces of it floating around in the ether. It's interesting. It's fascinating. I think that's why it's one of the ones that kind of convinced me to do the studios series. The studio series came from doing the blogs, and I would do a daily quiz, and the birthday was like I would do like a story about MGM, and I would actually go through the entire MGM. Oh, Derek Roberts is now trying to text me on his Facebook. You can chat with me online. What you call it? Oh yeah, now you threw me off. Oh, MGM. Yeah, so I would do this like quiz on MGM, and that's what I would read all these things about this stuff. And it's really, really cool. The series reminds me of the Logo series on YouTube. Well, I don't think my series is... I'm not... That's Logo stuff is superficial. I'm more interested in the gravity of history of Hollywood. So, Arseny says, no, I mean every shot in every movie, how the car drives, the main character, it just pans and shows the car driving. Why filmmakers put it in the film? I just get it. I just show the arrival of the character. Sometimes sometimes cliches, I guess I'm guilty of it too. But sometimes when you make a movie and you do a cliche shot, it feels like, I'm making a movie now. And sometimes those shots are just kind of like, they're kind of showing off the fact that they have a crane and they can make a movie this way. I think a lot of times, and even cinematographers can do that too, where they'll shoot very cliche shots so they can put it in their reels. Because certain sentences, certain phrases, certain sequences become sort of shorthand way of saying things. They're not necessarily unique or anything. What's the secret for a studio to survive long in Hollywood? Franchises, box office, Oscars, control of the theaters. I don't know. If I could really answer that question with like some certainty, I would be running a studio. I don't think anybody can answer that question. Like, if you notice with the Fox video and some of the other video, in the Paramount too, I say at the very beginning, if an executive either retires a hero or lives long enough to be the villain. Like, every single executive does really, really good, and then bad, slumps down. Really, really good, slumps down. And if they retire up here, they're good. But usually they get killed. They get like fired when they slump back down. Oh yeah, I'm sure I've seen those actually, Derek Roberts. I believe me, I've seen so much stuff online. Derek Lufkin says, MGM's owner A's is more interested in real estate than movie production. Yeah, I think that was Kirk Kerkorian. Kirk Kerkorian was one of the ones. Like, what happened in the 60s and 70s, really, 70s, 80s, when all these studios basically become arms and conglomerate parts of conglomerates where they're like Paramount was part of was Paramount part of Transamerica, the insurance company. I was going to do well, the Fox was originally a boating company. you know, like all these things are in the 70s and 80s. There was this kind of business school thinking that you want to minimize risk by basically putting your money into all kinds of different businesses that honestly didn't even make sense together. Like you'd have tires and movies. And then what happened later in the 90s, I think this is why Rupert Murdoch split the company up into two parts with his News Corp and Fox, was you really wanted companies that specialize in certain things because that gives investors like, okay, if I'm going to invest money, I don't want to necessarily invest. I want to invest in Fox, but I don't necessarily invest in News Corp. So but if they're one company, they won't get that investment. So that makes more sense to break the companies into some more specialized businesses rather than having these mega conglomerates that have businesses in all kinds of different sectors that just don't make sense together. But back in the 70s, that's the way they thought. So it's different. I mean, that's why I find this stuff really fascinating. I'm a business school major, guys. I didn't go to film school. I went to B school. I love that. I think it's fascinating. John, when are you going to get around to roasting subscriber videos, films? Good question. I don't know. I need to actually. We talked about a couple streams ago. I want to do this the scene study thing, and I think that would open up for a roasting thing. But I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean to people, So. Arseny says my favorite cliche from old good old days is when they show extra scenes with characters with music in the end credits. Yeah. Oh, that's what I love about Candy. Candy's got one of those. If you guys watched 40-Year-Old Virgin, I think 40-Year-Old Virgin was making fun of this trend of movies from the 70s where they would just basically show like hippies in a field. I'm not even sure if 40-Year-Old Virgin was a direct reference to Candy or if Candy was just one of the examples of this. At the end of the movies, all the characters are in a field and they're all dressed as hippies. And then there's like really cool, like groovy music going on. And everyone's doing a little sketch or something. I don't know if that's Candy or I don't know enough about that era and genre. What's up, Alfie? How many of you guys are old enough to remember the What's Up guys from Super Bowl? Way back when. What's up? And then they had the Budweiser Budweiser frogs, remember that? Oh my God, we're old. Sun is setting on us, so sundowning. Moonfall is a movie that has taken elements from many other works and portray the moon as sort of an artificial structure. I think it mainly takes their inspiration from David Weber's The Huck book. The Hack Book 1? Maybe, but I think you might be giving more credit than it deserves. Since Paramount's decent law is removed in 2020, decrees, guess what happens when the studios have control of the theaters? Well, I don't know. So that's a good point. Let's maybe have a little drink first here. This is just regular Arizona tea, nothing special about. The question is the Paramount decrees really necessary anymore? That is a good, fair question, because you would argue too, back in the 1948, where the studios could control that much movie production. I mean, they had so much control over the theaters. They could essentially, keep out any independent. But look at the day with the Paramount decrees. Are there a whole lot of independents getting distribution, or are they going through these companies anyway? I'm not sure the environment today necessarily means that the Paramount decrees are necessary. Even I don't know. I may know a little bit about the history. I'm not as deeply immersed into it as I need to be to make a humongous ruling. I'm just saying that the consumer has so many more options these days that I wonder if the movie studios not owning, or if they don't own the theaters, does that really make a difference? Maybe movie theaters should be owned by the studios. Maybe, I mean, like Disney owns Pantages Theater in downtown LA, which is a stage theater, right? And they do oftentimes show a lot of movies there too. A lot of the Disney premieres, they do like they add a lot of stuff to the movie. So if you go see like Mary Poppins or something, they'll have like dancers and they'll do a whole show before the movie comes on. So I don't know. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Maybe that's what the theaters need to survive, is that kind of extra value. It's really a matter of competition too, because if it becomes a point where you can't open a movie theater, well, I mean, I don't know enough. Again, I don't know enough about modern distribution practice to tell you. Like, if you want to open a theater now as an independent movie theater, you'd have to obviously contract one of these major distributors. So I don't know if that's, if you wanted to work with Disney, you probably had to follow their rules. If you want to work with Warner Brothers, you're going to have to follow their rules. And I don't know. I don't know if, but then again, if you're an independent theater, that might not be a good business practice to try to compete against a Regal or a AMC or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing that we get rid of the Paramount decrees at all. Anyhow, jumping ahead to you guys' comments here. Filmmaker IQ Predator had this credit and title. I'm not sure what credit you're referring to. I have to go back. Let's see. Oh, the credits in Kill Bill where they show 2 times with 2 songs even. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Let's go jump to some other comments here. How are streaming services able to get away with making movies and streaming them exclusively on their platform? Isn't that what the whole Hollywood antitrust thing was about? Not necessarily. I think what really happened with the Hollywood antitrust platform, it was really the independents that kind of went after it, and it was basically 2 forms. Was the block booking part, and I'm trying to remember now. But remember, it was part of the. I'm trying to remember what video I did about it. I think it was a censorship video. I talked a little bit about it, or no, it might have been the It's a Wonderful Life video. But basically, it was a problem with the independent producers who weren't able to get into these theaters. That's really what the problem was. Like the problem was they couldn't produce stuff and get it onto the streaming service. So nowadays I think Amazon will buy anything. Or you can get stuff on Amazon. So it's not really the same case, and if you think about it, like if you wanted to see a show, like let's say a good one would be good one just For All Mankind. It's a great show. It's only available on Apple Plus. You can't get it anywhere else besides Apple. You might be able to get it somewhere. I don't know. I take it back. But it's just all that's saying is, well, if you wanted to see the show, you have to pay for an Apple Plus subscription, and you would get the show. It's like if you wanted to read an article by Roger Ebert, you would have to read a newspaper that carried him, syndicated. You couldn't read the Chicago Tribune and expect to be able to read. That's Gene Siskel's paper. You had to read the Chicago Sun-Times. That was the Roger Ebert's paper, So that's kind of the same idea. Anyhow. Andy, you got a lot of questions. You got to look this stuff up. You can't just randomly ask them. How's a Japanese company, Sony, get control of Hollywood while other studios are from U.S.? They buy stuff. And I think Japan bought Columbia. Sony bought Columbia. So Columbia is how they got it. Just take money and buy it. I mean, Sony was a humongous company. Is a humongous company. Love the Fox and 20th Century Fox videos. Thank you. It's sad there is no major studios without a conglomerate attached. That's the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, as I would say in that video. Trying to think. Well, like there's some independent ones that are now no longer, that aren't part of conglomerates, but it's all money. It's all money. For All Mankind circulates in the free market too. I figured, yeah, you probably could find it on Amazon or something for like, $24 for the whole season. But it's like you can buy Apple Plus for $5 a month, watch it, and turn off your Apple Plus. You do that. And you get all the other shows on Apple Plus too. I think Apple Plus is a pretty good value right now. Netflix is kind of getting expensive. The only thing I've watched on Netflix is Cowboy Bebop, the original series. All right, man. Well, take care, Antony. And thanks for hanging out. We'll see you later. Yeah, all series do, says Lucas Salmon. So, yeah, that makes sense. I imagine there might be a couple exclusives, but why would you? Again, probably, why would Netflix make like House of Cards? Go back in the old one. They wouldn't make it an exclusive Netflix, and they could make money selling the DVDs too. So make more money. Hi, Andy. I subscribe. Why did you have less videos on Studio? Why do you have less videos on Studio's history? Because they are a mother to make. They are incredibly difficult to make. That's why. Disney didn't get purchased by a conglomerate. I became one. Yep. Yeah, thinking about it. Like Disney, Disney's not on my list of studios to make because Disney is covered by so many other people. I think the history of Disney is kind of already established or really well. It would be like the very bottom of my list of videos to make about Disney. But Disney, started off as an animation studio. They went to live action, and also became a theme park because that's really what Walt Disney's heart really was. And then they bought cruise lines, and cruise lines merchandising. It's insane. Yeah, I am digging gems here. High caliber stuff. OC. Nice. Does the DVD business have a third party to share money? I'm sure it does. I'm not sure what your question is. I can't really follow that question. Some of those Disney videos on YouTube are paid for by Disney. LOL. I'm sure they are. Yeah, I'm sure that like Disney is a boogeyman, but I don't think it's really the boogeyman that most people make it out to be. It's just fashionable to hate on Disney. It really is. But honestly, I have so much respect for what they've been able to accomplish. And believe me, there's some bad stuff going on with Disney, obviously. But I mean, I think if I'm not a parent, but like if you had kids, like the Disney brand to me would be a very, very, there's a lot of value into that. Like, it might be it might be the most expensive brand, but there's a quality to Disney that is not found in nearly any other product, really. I mean, entertainment wise. I have these friends, I'm not gonna lie, they have kids, and their kids watch children's YouTube, and they have it on like all the time. They have little tablets, and my God, I would want to shoot myself if I had to listen to that stuff over and over again. And if it was Disney, at least Disney would put out a product that's not bad. But it's YouTube Kids, so it's like hickory dickory dock, the went up the block, the hickory dickory dock, da 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 da. I just like my brain is starting to like melt, and the flames, the flames, the flames. No, like yeah, it's just bad. Like the YouTube children stuff is like you thought that Baby Shark was bad. Baby Shark is at least entertaining in the slightest form. Some of this YouTube kid stuff, it's like one helicopter, two helicopters, three helicopters. It's like, oh my God, I want to shoot myself. It's horrible, horrible. But if it was Disney, I think I could take a Disney product. I really think I could. The flames along the side of my face, the flames. What makes the streaming model more profitable compared to DVD, TV, and theaters model? Because there's almost zero cost. I mean, streaming, you're paying for streaming services, you're paying for infrastructure on the web. But holy moly, you do not have to pay for the DVD. You don't have to ship DVDs anywhere. You don't have to print anything out. It's printing money, essentially. Yes, definitely a Clue reference. That's what happens when you watch Filmmaker IQ. I'm not just a flash in the pan. I write these scripts, damn it. I edit these videos. You're getting the person who's talking about movies. We're not gonna. I'm not some pretty face they hired. I mean, look at this face. They wouldn't hire this face. Like I'm not some pretty face they've hired off the street. Like you look good on camera. Come over here and you talk about movies and pretend like you know what you're talking about. No, you're dealing with the person that's actually make all this crap. Taiwan says hating on Disney since 1978. Yeah, there's plenty of reasons to hate Disney. Believe me. But I think there is some there. I think it's fashionable. I think there's some good stuff they make. Like I think a lot of good stuff that they make. Big Bones says I'd hire that face. Yeah, to do what? Uh, yeah. Did you ever see Michelle de Reiter? No, I don't know what that is. Oh, I didn't. I didn't send that. I don't know why I blocked that. That's weird. Coco Melon, dear God. Oh, is there Coco Melon? I don't know. I don't know what you guys are talking about. What time is it here? 3. I've been on for about an hour. Let's go for few more minutes here. We'll hang out with you guys for a few more minutes, and then I will go and probably do a little bit of. I'll do this. My friend wanted to make a chessboard thing, and I want to design some stuff with that. I'll work on that for a little bit. I have a face for YouTube. Tell me about it. I'm a male, which means I probably will succeed. Well, I don't know. Women do real well on YouTube, I think. I think women do probably better than men on YouTube. I don't know. You know, okay. We're deep enough into this. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. I think sometimes in this industry, if I was exactly me but a woman, I might have a few more advantages. Just saying. Now, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. So let me back that way up. I am privileged in many ways. Believe me. And being a guy, I guess, you know, like I can just float on my own, whatever, you know. All right. This is gonna get me. That statement will get me canceled. I'll take it back. We all have our crosses to bear. Sometimes I think that being a woman in a male-dominated realm sometimes gives you the advantage because people will find you more interesting to work with or might want to hire you, get you on board. Sometimes, right? So I think there is an advantage, especially nowadays with the kind of awareness, I guess you want to call it that. I'm not going to say it's woke because it's not necessarily woke. Woke is a different thing. But the awareness of diversity, right? The awareness of stuff. Sometimes it's an advantage to be not of the mainstream, right? Not the same as everybody else, right? So I always wonder, like, if I was a woman, don't read too much into that because I'm perfectly fine the gender that I am. I'm absolutely loving the gender that I am. But if you're a beautiful woman, but again, the thing with beautiful women. All right, I'm not gonna get canceled for this. I get canceled for anything else I said earlier. I'm not gonna get canceled for this. Beautiful women have to. The problem with beautiful women is they don't understand how powerful they are and how short-lived that power will be. Unfortunately, you know, like I've my experiences with women in the entertainment field who are selling themselves as attractive. I once was hanging out with a jazz singer that was very beautiful, to my opinion. I had a major crush on her too. But I've dealt with people that work in the front facing the side of entertainment. Beautiful women are incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. Doors will open to beautiful women really quickly. Now, Me Too, obviously, there's some sinister stuff going on there. You know, you might take a meeting with Harvey Weinstein, might kind of go kind of sour, but you had a meeting with Harvey Weinstein, which is more than an ugly man would get. I get that. It comes with strings attached, and they're nasty strings. Let's not fool ourselves. But the doors are much more open for a beautiful woman. However, the beauty subsides pretty quickly, and once they find another pretty face, they can just throw you out. So it's one of those things. It's a double-edged sword, right? And someone who's never been considered beautiful, not me. And I look. You know, it's there's the end of the Big Kahuna, which goes through. Baz Luhrmann did a music video. He says you'll look at old photos and think, man, how good you looked before. And I look at cleaning my mom's room. I see a lot of old photos of me from when I was like 20. And I'm like, damn, I thought I was ugly as sin back. I thought I was so ugly, and I probably could have actually gotten some women back in the day had I not been super shy. You know, like I mean, I chopped all my hair off because I was losing a lot of it, um, and I felt like sad seeing myself in the pack. That's why I got rid of all my hair. But back then I was like, wow, there's a good looking little kid there. He's a good looking guy. How come he wasn't just making it with the women? Anyhow, Matt Buckmeyer says favorite film is Local Hero. It's also mine. I'm curious to know what your opinion. I've never seen it. I just like Mark Kermode. I don't know everything about him. People overlook the talents of actresses like Ingrid Bergman and Betty Davis, only praising their glamour and their appearance. I I think the sexiest women are the women who don't take themselves seriously. Like I think the women that are the least interesting are the beautiful women because a lot of times people skate by on their beauty and looks and have nothing else to offer. But I love it when a woman has a brain, I guess I would say it. Someone like, Fanny Bryce, like I don't know that much about Fanny Bryce other than I've seen parts of Fanny. Fanny Bryce is, this Jewish girl comedian who's huge, and no, I don't want to say huge. I don't know. I guess maybe big among the era, but that's sexy. That's a woman that has a smart wit to her, and the great thing about that is that wit far outlasts their beauty, and they can be, Betty White. People love Betty White because of her humor. She was gorgeous when she was young, but I mean, come on, like she's 100 and some years old, and people still adored her because of her humor, of her charm, of everything about her. So hopefully, I won't get canceled. Of course, I don't have the platform big enough to draw the hire, not yet, at least. Don't cancel me for saying that I think women have somewhat of an advantage nowadays. Please don't cancel me for that. Fuck it, cancel me. I don't give a shit. If that's how I'm gonna go out on it, fine. Good-looking men are a bit overlooked when young, but they do better in the 30s, 40s. DiCaprio, Depp, yeah. It's also part of the. I think there is a well, it depends. Let's put it this way. Like Brendan Fraser did not age well, and now we're getting catty. Now we're getting now we're getting gossipy. Like Brendan Fraser didn't really age well. Val Kilmer didn't really age that well. If you age well and you look more distinguished, like a George Clooney or a Brad Pitt looks pretty good, for his 50s. But if you age well, you will be cast. He'll be a love interest for a very long time. Yeah, the 70 viewers will come after. Do we have 70? That's pretty good. I don't think we have 70, do we? I have 45 right now. Yeah. What the hell? Uh, the cancel culture, like the Me Too movement, will be a passing fad. I don't know if the cancel culture will. I mean, the cancel culture is not new. I think that's the thing that we have to be careful about because the cancel culture, I'll be honest, right now it's coming more from the left wing politics. Before it was coming from the right wing politics. They were. If we're going to go way, way, way back to the 1950s, it was McCarthyism was basically cancel culture of the 50s. If you were in any way associated with the Communist Party, that was the end of your career. You're canceled, right? So cancel culture will always be part of us, part of our society. And part of virtue signaling. I think it's obviously gotten a lot more. Well, because social media is basically virtual signaling, it's all we do on social media is look how great I am, look how great I am. That cancel culture has a lot more power these days because you just go after somebody and take them down and destroy their social media persona. So I don't think that will go away. I just don't think that will go away. I'm uncancelable, Boa says. I hope not. Yeah, Tipper Gore, another example of the. Well, Tipper Gore was a Democrat, but they're trying to cancel rock music, cancel the parent advisory warnings on all the on video games too. Video games have had this issue too, where they tried to ban a lot of violent video games, right? Yep. Dr. Grandpa says, good name, I love that. Cancel culture has been around way very long time. It's empowered by the social media, empowered, and also because social media feeds on power, on that kind of social power. And cancel culture is, or canceling people is just part of that, you know. And let's we can all agree, and I'm not going to cancel or saying it's stupid. Like I will say this, and I don't want to I don't like this to turn too political because there's a lot of sources for political stuff, and I don't necessarily want this to be another one of those. But I go through Twitter right now, and it's just like nonstop Joe Rogan stuff. It's like really, we must live in a great time. We must live in golden era. We live in the golden age when the biggest problem is Joe Rogan said some bad words. Like man, we are sitting pretty. If that's what's dominating our news, is somebody said some bad words. Oh my gosh. I mean, those people from the dark ages, from the Black Death, they would love to trade places with us. Oh yeah, what happened in your time? Oh, 3,000 people died from bobos on their bubos on their armpits, pus oozing black pus, and there's famine in the lands, and the king just executed 300 prisoners of war. Okay, what's new in your time? Oh, this popular talk guy said a word like many times, but he apologized for it and he deleted the episodes. Um, yeah, that's the most important news that's happening now. Oh, okay. Like really, come on, really? So, uh, Rio Protus is behind a little bit. Mickey Rourke looks like he hang out with sometime with Axl Rose. Yeah, Mickey Rourke does look a little bit haggard. He didn't quite age very well. No Todo S Arte. Why would McCarthyism be a left wing movement? It was a right wing movement. It was a right wing as far as was it Republicans? I think it was Republicans going after the communists or capitalists essentially. It wasn't just Republicans. Let's not play politics with that. It wasn't just Republicans that are pro McCarthy. It wasn't all Democrats either. But it wasn't really, anyhow. Lucas says it's a bummer. I'm sure anyone can edit what you just said to make it look bad. People cancel anyone without trying to look at context. Yeah, and not to go back, there was this one episode where Joe Rogan was interviewing this Australian guy about myocarditis and something like that, and I was reading the Twitter thing, and it made it look like some big gotcha moment. It was like because people were just taking stuff out of context. I listened to the actual episode, and I'm like, they're just having a conversation. Somebody and Rogan got something wrong. This guy got something wrong. They're just going back and forth. It's just talk. It's nothing. But like we got nothing else to worry about in this world other than what somebody on a podcast says. Can Andy says can celebs make a comeback after being canceled in the new woke world? What about Johnny Depp chances of coming back? I think Johnny Depp has a pretty good chance. But Johnny Depp didn't really get canceled. I think his ex-wife got more canceled. Andy says this show went from Moonfall to Hollywood history to cancel culture to politics within 30 minutes. Well, we're just talking. That's the way all these live streams go. I start out with a topic and then we just kind of I answer your guys' questions or we take your chats and we just kind of free flow it from there. But I always start off with a topic because it gives some people people can tune in and watch that part and then they'll tune out like 20 minutes if they're not interested in hearing about it. Andy Harris asks a good question. How much has U.S. government intervention in Hollywood helped Hollywood become the biggest industry, a biggest industry? Good question. Good question. I don't think much at all, honestly. I don't like there isn't a whole lot of government involvement in the history of we're talking about the history of Hollywood here now. I don't think the US government has actually been involved much at all. In fact, most of Hollywood history is keeping the government away from from involvement in the actual making of movies. And people don't realize the whole MPAA rating system, the PG-13, G, PG, R rating, all that stuff, it's not government mandated. It was in fact in order to keep the government from getting involved with censoring movies. It was basically a ploy. It was a tit for tat. We will rate our movies. You stay the hell away from them. So actually, U.S. government intervention has not in Hollywood doesn't really have anything to do with the government. In fact, historically the government has stayed far, far away from Hollywood. Modern times, you make a little bit more different argument. I'm not sure it doesn't really quite make sense though. But anyhow, so that's a good question. Other countries, however, Britain, Britain I know for sure, but like France, a lot of other nations have arts, government-funded arts programs that encourage movie production. That's really to counteract the powerhouse that Hollywood is. Dr. Grandpa says, is Moonfall worth watching? Does it follow the science? It definitely follows the science. Grandpa, I would say have a snifter of whatever your favorite drink is and watch it with a very, 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 very loose interpretation. Like just go in knowing know this phrase, radioactively dumb. And if you expect that, you will have a good time. But do not expect it to be anything but radioactively dumb. Yep. Yeah, so Boa says, I think game ratings were the same, self-imposed by the gaming industry. Basically, yeah, I think any rating system is a way to do that. It's like we're going to police ourselves so you don't have to. Because we don't want you to be involved. Because let's face it, you do not want the government telling you what movies you can and can't make. In America, at least in the United States, that's against the First Amendment. We do not want that. So, is the ratings mandatory? Yeah, it is mandatory if you are an MPA movie. If you want to be a Movie Pictures Association movie, which then gets you into the movie theaters. If you want to make a movie, you don't need to get a rating. In fact, you can't really legally put your movie. You can't say it's R-rated because the R rating is a trademark of the MPA. So legally, you shouldn't. Like if you made an indie film, you don't want to. You want to say this movie is not rated. You don't want to put a self rating because that's technically trademark violation. They're not going to come after you, but that is an issue. Yeah. So any movies, that's the problem also with the X rating, because back when the MPAA first created the rating system, X was untrademarked. So any movie can just put an X on their the rating. It was like, yeah, it's for movies that aren't rated and maybe too adult for the MPAA. That's what it's for. And then of course the porn producers like X, it'd be hotter than X, triple X. And that's where we get XXX. So yeah. All right, let's see. Pedro says, is real any tale about government ordering to make films to get something like a gun to get more people to buy? There are. It is true that there are some like Michael Bay will oftentimes work with the military. So and then the military will do this. They'll say, okay, we want to portray the military in a little bit brighter light. You have access to our battleships. If we'll read your script to make sure everything's okay. That happens. But then again, would that happen in every other country? Yeah, it would. But I don't think necessarily, it's not necessarily Well, I mean, call a spade a spade. It is a propagandist move. Of course it is. But there's lots of propaganda all over the place. Like, a lot of times in my life, I think of myself as a propagandist. Many, I produce stuff for cities and government stuff all the time. I just don't consider it necessarily bad propaganda. Like I'm working on a project with the city about homelessness. Now it is propaganda in a sense, but it's propaganda for like doing actual action to help people off the streets. It's a propaganda, yeah, but it's for a good cause. So I mean, I'm not doing anything. I don't think. I also know I'm not doing anything what I would consider unethical. I'm not portraying facts in a way that are not true, or at least have enough truth in them. I'm not trying to. I'm not telling bold-faced lies. That's what I tell myself. But yeah, and I tell stories. All stories have an element of kind of propagandist to them. Andy, yes. Andy, you're full of weird questions. But China film industry became successful with help of government. So is brilliant. So is Britain. Sure, because I think a lot of times too they're also these government they're to combat Hollywood because Hollywood is so dang powerful that a small film industry in well, China's a big market, so China's different, but like Britain wants to preserve some of its own filmmaking and keep the foreign investment out. They might want to support their own independent films. So Pedro asks, how are unrated films or versions can be released? They aren't screened in theaters. So if you watch like the 40-year-old version unrated cut, it's the version that wasn't seen in theaters. So you can put it on DVD. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so any of those like, horror films that are unrated, that's just because you put it on DVD, sell the DVD. You can't stop you. It's just if you want to show it in theaters, you need the rating. Marvel movies always have that army recruitment videos before they play it in theaters. Yeah, it would be nice actually to take uh, I mean, in so many ways, the U.S. military now, in many ways, it is, and they want to be seen this way. I think it's more of like a peacekeeping force, or they send them to like disaster zones to do basically take care of stuff. But it'd be nice to maybe like JFK's vision of like the non-military service, like a community service thing, but it's not military, like what they call Peace Corps. So it'd be kind of nice to bring something like that around, like the idea of ask not what you do for your country, what you can do. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. But in a way, for the young people could join up with the Peace Corps, and it would be literally go around and do like fix stuff or do good things, and it has nothing to do with like any kind of army, no violence. And all they do is a good work kind of thing. That might be a worthy investment. I'd be down for that. You'd have more viewers if you had more explosions. Well, I did take an Imodium AD. Just kidding. That's a terrible. Don't go there. Yeah. The military-industrial complex spends millions every year with movies to attract new recruits for cannon fodder. I think nowadays, though, unfortunately, we don't use cannons anymore. So the whole, I mean, that's the difference between obviously like Napoleon times, which is really just throw a bunch of men into a field, and whoever overwhelms the other. Now it's all like drones and stuff. So I'm wondering, how much cannon fodder do you really need? Like, like that nuke is not gonna not gonna care how many people are there, how many soldiers are standing in front. By the way, I did see I've been house hopping, not seriously thinking about moving yet, but I found this one abandoned missile silo in Kansas for like $600,000. But it was like literally an Atlas missile silo in Kansas available. It's all deserted now. They took the nuke out. Unfortunately, I really wanted to get that. But yeah, it's just like it's on 8 acres of land, and it's got like an underground bunker thingy, and then the whole the whole like 8 levels where the nuke would go, and it's for sale. And I mean, it looks like it's going to take a lot of work. And I thought it'd be kind of cool. Filmmaker IQ, the only studio on YouTube that is safe from a thermonuclear attack because it's underground. It's really cool. What do I think about Tom Cruise's Iron Man? I think Iron Man's dead, man. Uh, Sometimes you just gotta let story go, like Futurama. Like I'm not really like, oh, Futurama's back. I got tired. I didn't see I didn't watch the last season of Futurama. I got tired of it. Come and see Solaris Stalker, Great Russian Films. Tarkovsky's poetry. That was, yeah, I like Tarkovsky's Solaris much better than what's his face's Solaris. And the book is excellent. The book was like one of those books that changed, like affected me deeply because I read that in college for a science and a religion class. Missile silo for home. What a money pit. So apparently, Vice did a video back when Vice was actually about like the underbelly of society. But there was somebody that took another missile silo in Kansas and converted it into an LSD factory. And in this LSD factory, they had like disco balls and all kinds of crazy, bizarre things. And they interviewed a stripper that used to work at the LSD factory, and she would take like showers in the group shower thing for clients and all that. And yeah, that's a story. It's a story and a half. Charity is not the same as image washing or manipulation. Do not elevate. It's not the same. I would, yeah, I mean, agree with you, but it's still propaganda. Propaganda is just basically telling a story for political motivation. I think, regardless of whether you're doing it for a good cause or for a bad cause, it's all propaganda. Like I don't distinguish between the two. I can always build a prop nuke. Yeah, sure, prop. That, yeah, prop nuke. Yeah, prop. That's just a prop nuke. Your favorite Hollywood studio in the last 100 years? I'll be honest. The studio that made the most difference in my life, Disney, by far. Disney would have been my favorite studio. That's the most like treasured movies, the most treasured moments is Disney. Like those are super, super, super special to me. Fox would be number two. 20th Century Fox probably would be number two. Don't bother watching this. The Soderbergh Solaris. Oh, the Soderbergh's new flip Kiwi. Oh shoot, Soderbergh is sort of a hit and miss, isn't he? Kind of. I made a movie called the Battle of the Cars. Can you watch it and give me some feedback? Yeah, send me a link, and then let me know what you're looking for in terms of feedback. Because I can either give you kitty gloves or I can go full bore. Dr. Grandpa says, quote, propaganda is used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Yeah, I think that's kind of that's what I follow. That's the definition I kind of follow. So yeah, it said it's either good propaganda for whatever cause. It could be like propaganda for saving puppies. It's still propaganda. It's just for saving puppies. Nothing wrong with that. Rio Proderis says, I think sometimes that governments are there just to rule people, not to serve them at all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to being awake. I don't think there's ever been a government that has really existed to serve people. There's always some element that is about ruling people. All right. Who came up with the idea to stop the rating systems to stop government involvement? It's been going on since the very beginning. It goes back to like William Hayes, like the whole production code. Again, the production code was not created by the government. It was created by the industry. William Hayes goes back further, but going back, so there's a great book out there. I forget the name of it. It's about Adolf Zukor and the 1920s. The 1920s is a fascinating time. If you want to think, and here's a good point I'll bring up here. If you think woke is a modern weird craziness right now, go back to 1920 and look at the temperance movement. Like, the temperance movement got so much control, they passed a constitutional amendment to ban the sale of alcohol. All right, that's how much power the temperance movement, the sale of alcohol, right? Like, alcohol was verboten back in the day, right? So, so the movie theaters, because alcohol is seen as a form of debauchery, as a form of bad behavior. Alcohol, right? People got drunk, public drunkenness, bad lewdness, terrible, terrible behavior. So the movie theaters, the movie producers, because a lot of the movie, people who made movies back then, they would cater towards crowds of immigrants that came through Staten Island. They catered to all kinds of folks that are lower class, and they would make movies that were maybe had like a little bit of nudity in it, or something sexual, or something titillating. So they were looking at this temperance movement, thinking, "Oh crap, these guys passed a U.S. constitutional amendment to ban alcohol. We're next. We're next if we don't stop these guys from thinking this woke crowd of the 1920s temperance people, lips that touch alcohol shall not touch mine kind of people. If we don't stop them, they're coming after us." So that's when they came together and created these basically production rules, and production that they're called the production code, which would there's a 14 list of rules where you can't show a bad guy that succeeds. Like, a bad guy must suffer the consequence at the end. You can't have any sex on screen. You can't show any sex before marriage. No rape. None of that. Even no white slavery, which is weird. You can't show white slavery. You can show black slavery. No white slavery. So they had all these rules to try to prevent the government, these temperance movement people, coming in and basically knocking them out. So yeah, it goes that far back. So, and I don't think it's any one dude. Anyhow, so that's my long take. I never thought of it thinking of it that I've never thought of thinking of the woke crowd these days as equating them to the temperance movement. But I think that's not a bad analogy. I think there's something there. Maybe not perfect, but it rhymes. Propaganda is Spanish for advertisement? I don't think so. I took Spanish. I don't remember that. Something weird. Russ Meyer, good 60s stuff. Russ Meyer is a forgotten weirdo. Anyhow, all right. Russ Meyer is an interesting cat. Let's put it that way. There's this ad I saw when I was doing the 20th Century Fox video. I saw an ad for Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and it's just like Russ Meyer, taking photos, and it's very Austin Powers. It's like, yeah, baby, yeah, all these beautiful women, God, gorgeous women, and that's what Russ Meyer did. Just pictures of them, and he'd probably be topless half the time. All right, yeah. Wasn't there an Italian film that caused controversy in the U.S. because it was allowed to show women get sexually involved with a man claiming? Oh shoot! I'll call him back. You might be talking. The Italian film that got in trouble was about one. I don't think it was a Fellini film, but it was the one about Virgin Mary, and the star was like a prostitute who thinks she's a Virgin Mary or something. I think that's the plot of it. I forget. It was a short film. It was a part of an anthology of films, and that's the one that broke. Watch my censorship video. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Somebody might throw it out at me. Yeah, but they didn't have Twitter in the 20s. I know. Can you imagine if the temperance movement had Twitter? Ooh. Talking about nudity, which film industry legalized nudity first? Probably the French. Sorry. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired. I'm seeing all these landmines. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get canceled for saying this. Oh, step on that. No, I didn't get. No, I'll get canceled. Probably the French though. I think the French were a little bit first as far as the nudity, because French don't are a lot more liberal about sex and nudity and that kind of stuff. Je vous salue Marie. I probably mispronounced that. Is it talent or connections, nepotism that gets you work in Hollywood? It's a little bit of both. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Pedro says the last Temptation Christ made way more controversy than other places. Remember when Dogma came out too? If you guys ever saw Dogma, like there was a lot of people complaining about anti-religious sentiment of Dogma, and they did some man on the street stuff and interviewed people, and Kevin Smith just like joined the crowd of protesters at his movie, and he was like, "Oh, this movie sucks, man. This is a terrible movie." So the news interviewed him, like they're interviewing him as if he was a protester, and so there's some news footage of Kevin Smith being interviewed about his movie, about how it's horrible. You need that anti-cancel silo, yeah. Bergman's Summer with Monica caused controversy because it had breasts in 1952. I know, what are those things? Breasts. Ugh, yikes. How dare they? What's with Japanese films, anime, and hentai showing all kinds of sexual stuff but censoring genitals? That's got to be a cultural thing. I don't get that part. Yeah, I don't understand. I have not done a deep dive into Japanese pornography practices yet. Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll make that video. Don't forget, getting canceled. You won't. Your audiences have a brain. We have a brain. Thank God. And I don't think I'm that popular. Although people, I've brushed up against it. I've talked about this before on certain topics, and it's usually the anti-sex feminists that go after me. They don't like. I think they don't like a schlubby-looking guy like me talking, or even thinking about sex. I don't know. Jesus, don't don't do that, man. Andy, you're so full of questions. I love you though. Your questions are funny. Why did French legalize nudity first? Is there any outrage in that time? Do you know much about France? I mean, look at the French art. Look at French artwork. Look at French. The French just don't see it the way we Americans and our Puritans do. Our Puritan ancestors. Remember, America was founded. At least part of it was founded by people that thought the British were way too loose in their morals. They were so uppity. A great film about like the very first scene of the movie The Witch is kind of a really good like sense the family did something that pissed off the Puritan the colony. They banned them from the colony. It's really kind of anyhow. Do you think cancel culture works because only Emily in Paris got a season 2 after literal corruption charges? I don't know about Emily in Paris. Do I think cancel culture works? It's losing its power, its potency. It really is. It's great for. Here's the thing with cancel culture. Like Joe Rogan's a good example. Is Joe Rogan getting in trouble? Really? Not really. Was every freaking news and commentary, including this podcast, this little video live stream of mine talking about him and trying to like earn points on it? Yes, we're all making money hand and fist. Well, I'm not making money hand and fist. I'm making like $2. Thanks for the super chat though, Big Rick. But yeah, no, like no one really, no one's canceling Joe Rogan. It's ridiculous. Big Bones in the Realm of Senses is a great Japanese art house porno that smuggled their negatives to France, so nudity wasn't censored. The funny story about France, when I was talking about the candy earlier, was that they published those books in France because France didn't have obscenity laws like the rest of the English-speaking world. Titan won the top prize at Cannes. Has a lot of full frontal nudity. Yeah, it's I've shot some nude photos, and it's shooting nudity is it's a different experience. Now if we're going to talk about this, let's talk about it a little bit. I've shot a lot. I've shot a lot of nude photography. Not, I mean, a fair amount of it. To say that there is a way to shoot nude photography that it's much more difficult. It's hard. Don't go there. It's not. Well, first of all, shooting nude photography is not a sexual thing. Like, so when I'm concerned about it, when I'm doing any kind of work like that, you do not get aroused. You do not get. You might feel a tingle later, but the act of shooting, you are, at least I am, so focused on the technical details, and there's so many things to look out for, because nude photography is literally unforgiving, utterly unforgiving as far as like what you have to consider. Stuff like a shadow, a certain way the light, a bend in the body. It's incredibly difficult to create these looks. And I've never really shot the Playboy style. I've shot more of an art nude style, but it's really difficult to pull it off. It's really tricky. That shooting a clothed model is a lot less. It's a lot easier actually to shoot a clothed model. Forget where I'm going down with this. Oh, but other than the fact that full frontal nudity, it's just really, really, really difficult. And like I have some scripts that might want to call for some nudity. Will it? But the thing is, you always have to ask yourself: will the nudity make my film less marketable? Because if I make a short, let's say if I make a short film about sex, the nudity isn't necessarily gratuitous; it's honest. But does that mean I can play fewer festivals? Because some festivals might look at that and say, this is just too hard for us to include in a shorts lineup. You get to the point where like I'm actually going to hurt myself if I put this nudity in it, even though I feel it's justified, even though I feel like this is part of my expression. It doesn't. It makes it harder for other people in this culture that I live in. It prevents me from getting more views, and that happens a lot. So sometimes it is best sometimes just to bite the bullet and try to figure out an even less make it sexier without showing anything. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyhow, did you keep the photos for later? I keep all the photos. I wanted to experiment, see if I could make. I thought maybe I could try to take the photos and take them to an art gallery and try to, but the reality is a photo art gallery, it's not much you can do. I did a lot of what I call a lot of light painting kind of stuff, where I would take a projector and I'd put patterns on the projector and project on a nude body, and I create these really fascinating, interesting shapes. Because the female body, look, come on, guy, we're all guys. The female body is exceptional. It's wonderful. We are programmed to. I think every human being is programmed to appreciate the wonders of a female body. The male body is humorous, ugly, and stupid looking, but the woman is majesty, right? I mean, I'm sorry, they just are. They just are, and it's all body shapes, a lot of body shapes, healthiness, right? But so I did a lot of that. And I was thinking, well, maybe I could try to get this into art galleries, and it didn't go anywhere. Wasn't able to push it, and I didn't really try that hard. I was experimenting, experiment with artistic expression, that kind of thing. Andy, why are you so obsessed with who's first? Don't worry about it. I don't think it was ever legalized watching porn first. Why are you so obsessed with that, man? Don't worry about it. Although I appreciate the interaction, though. Thank you. I don't know who's first legalized porn. I'm pretty sure there are countries out there that was never illegal in the first place. Yeah, that happens at Hollywood level. An R rating means less people can see it. Yeah, and especially NC-17 means way fewer people can see it. So that's why NC-17 is like a death knell. So they always try to at least go for the R rating. I mean, PG, obviously, if you want like a bigger, if you want like a Saturday crowd, family crowds, PG-13, but Yeah, you know, I should probably put together Discord. I just don't know anything about Discord. So if you guys want to help me put one together, um, yeah. Andy Harris says a history of illegal pornography that dates back to when cameras were first available to the public. My theory, again, my cancel culture theory is going to go after me. My theory is that man created cameras to take pictures of women. Like I honestly believe like when they first invented cameras, they're like, oh, you can take a photo of something. Uh, Bob's wife is pretty hot. Bob, ask your wife to come to the office tomorrow. Let's take a picture of your wife. Yeah, yeah. Let's take a picture of that. I think honestly, I think that's it, in the grand scheme of this hairless ape that has learned to master parts of the universe to formulate a two-dimensional image. The reason we did that was so that we could have photos of women. I'll be honest with you. I think that's why it is. John, Rick H says, in your future, will you talk about your process of filmmaking from idea to post-production? I can, but it's not terribly interesting, at least to me. um, but my process is also different because I work literally alone. Like I don't have any, but right now I'm the only person in this office. When I do the studios, it was literally me. I do everything. So eh, it's like Leslie Knope on her credit roll, like art by Leslie Knope, blah blah blah, or Leslie Knope. Everybody's on there, so it's a little boring. The hot air balloon was so we could look down women's tops. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I think the hot air balloon was created so that the guy could like either take a woman up the hot air balloon and probably get laid afterward, or tell women that he was up in the hot air balloon and make him interesting, and then he would get laid later. It's all about getting laid. That's all it is. Women are wonderful. Andy Handy says when they started painting in the medieval times, they started painting women's bodies first. Especially started in India because of the Kama Sutra. Okay. Not sure I agree with your history, but I would agree with the fact that the women's painting women was probably the first thing they did. You don't want to paint a man. What do you want to see paint a man for? Boring. The drones are from someone who aimed to the stars. Let's see. Big Bones says, legit made me laugh. All right, guys, it is 4:15. I think I've been on here for 2 hours now. Shoot, it's been a long time. All right, guys, well, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm going to go do something else now. And I'm going to try to get the candy video working on it. Well, it won't be probably another week and a half or so. It's entertaining. It's going to be a fun video. It's going to be fun. It won't be as dry. I do want to talk. There's a 20th Century Fox story I want to talk about. So I might put the cape, the trench coat on and the hat on and do one more story from 20th Century Fox that I, do the what's his face? Just one more thing. One more thing. What's his name of that character? Pete? Whatever. I'll remember as soon as I get off the line. But yeah. So we'll see you here again next week. And I'm looking over there on my list of things I want to make. Oh my God, there's so many things I need to make. Well, I'm going to be working on finishing up my house. I'm trying to get my house cleaned up. So if I get my house cleaned up, I can actually work at home too, and have relax and maybe get my head in a better space. We'll have Columbo. Thank you, Columbo. You know what I was going for. You knew I was going for Columbo. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. My butt is a little bit numb now for sitting for about 2 hours. And don't cancel me. And I'll see you next week here at filmmakeriq.com. Go out there, make something great. Check out the Patreon. Check out the ads, whatever. I don't know, whatever. All right. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Toodles.